Okay, this is Orlando Wilson. What I want to talk about in this video, quickly as always, is something to do with tactical training in general. And this is where I've come across too many people over the years that they can do certain tactical drills, firearms drills, close protection drills, but they don't understand why they're doing them. This is where, from a student's point of view, if you're being taught a technique, if you've been taught a certain drill, you need to understand why you're being taught it. I see a problem with a lot of instructors these days is a lot of what people are teaching is, especially the firearms perspective, is coming from what they see on YouTube. They're following influencers, etc. And people know I'm a bit of an asshole, the people that know me, and I generally call people out that's teaching this stuff, saying, okay, why are you teaching it? Give me the relevance of this technique. Put this technique into a real world perspective. And even down to stuff like grips. Certain ways people grip their pistol these days is purely competition, and when it comes down to actually close protection firearms, etc., is not the best way to use a pistol, but everybody says it's the way you must use a pistol because that's what the influencers say. Influencers have, I would say, very little if any experience of carrying pistols for defensive purposes or close protection. But so this is where, if you've been taught a technique, you should be being explained the relevance of that technique and how that technique, how that drill can be applied in reality. This is where I tell people on my courses, I want you to question everything. I want you to question what I'm teaching you, because if you don't understand why I'm teaching you and you don't understand what I'm telling you, we're just playing. I remember years ago we were doing a course, we done courses in Mexico for law enforcement, police units there, tactical units. And I remember a couple of these units, I said to them, they'd been trained by people from the US Embassy, Canadian Embassy, French embassies, British embassies. And I said to these guys and girls, I said, okay, the classic thing of room entries, why are you doing this? Give me why you're doing this, talk me through this. And they couldn't. And only answers for a lot of the stuff they were doing and a lot of stuff they've been trained to do was, okay, we were told to do this. Okay, why were you told to do it? Put it in perspective. Yes, you can you can do a room entry very, very coolly and it looks cool, but there's no furniture in the room, the door's not blocked, etc., etc., etc. And put this into a real world perspective. And when I started putting it down to them, okay, look at the buildings in Mexico, look at how you do things, would these techniques work? They're like, no. So what they'd been taught might be relevant, or relevant somewhere, but it wasn't relevant for their environment or what they're doing. A lot of the firearms drills that's been taught these days, I would severely question them. I'd question their relevance as far as defensive firearms training, defensive firearms perspective. It's all well and good for competition. People get to run around and play with guns and shoot things and dress up and be tactical, but the relevance in the real world is minimal, if any. So, just to summarize, always question what you've been taught and always question its relevance. If people are teaching you techniques that you don't see the relevance for, if you can understand why they're teaching you those techniques, then I'd call out the instructor and just ask them, why are you teaching this? There's a lot of instructors out there that are teaching techniques that's been taught to them and stuff they've seen on YouTube, but they themselves have never applied it in reality. They've never applied it in the real world because they've never worked. There's how many firearms instructors, and we've called out a couple recently, they're tactical firearms instructors, but they've never carried a pistol for defensive purposes. They've never, in the countries they're in, they can take the guns to the gun range, do their drills on the gun range, box the pistols and carry them home again. They've never carried a pistol for basic defensive purposes, let alone anything else. So from a US perspective, they've never even, they're not even at basic, they don't have the basic level of concealed carry, let alone anything else, which isn't a big thing in US, but in a lot of places it's a huge thing. So always call out your instructors, always question what you've been taught, always question the techniques. And if people cannot put those techniques, tactics into context, I'd say you've been conned. Because they said there's a lot of instructors out there these days with no experience, they've just done instructor courses, etc., etc. Same in the martial arts world. There's a lot of I have to be careful because I've got monkeys all around me. So this is the same in the martial arts world, where there's a lot of martial arts instructors that's never been involved in a fight, but they're teaching self-defense. Well, you know what? I particularly don't want somebody teaching me how to fight, how to deal with a street confrontation and how to be in a street fight if they've never been in a fight themselves, if they've never been punched, spat at, kicked, etc. So again, it's always make sure your instructors have experience and can put into context the techniques they're teaching you, etc. If they can't, you know what, have fun, enjoy yourself, enjoy the course, be tactical, get dressed up, but I wouldn't try to apply what you've been taught in reality, because it will most probably get you severely hurt or killed. Again, just my perspectives. In the meantime, follow me along on social media. I've got an array of books up on Amazon that talk about various aspects of close protection, security business, kidnapping, ransom, etc. We also have a load of videos up now on the mainstream social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, etc., but we're shadowed banned on most. These days, follow us along on LinkedIn. That's where we're putting up most of our news, comments, and if you want to call it propaganda. 2025, we'll be starting our courses full throttle again. We've taken a break because we've just been too busy with other things in other places. But follow us along, and if you've got any relevant questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And if you're looking to do training, make sure your instructors have experience, not just walls full of pretty certificates. And if you're looking to do especially close protection, make sure they actually have close protection experience and not just attended some tick the box courses, etc., etc. Be good, stay safe, and as always, try to stay out of trouble.